All right, so today we're going to talk about one of the most interesting muscles in the body. I call it the iliopsoas. The hip flexors, layman's term for it. If you went to a cocktail party and there was body parts there, the hip flexors, who you want to talk to. Most interesting body part in the body. It goes from the hip, and actually this is inaccurate. It attaches to the disc in every segment of the lumbar spine and graduates into the diaphragm in here. So that muscle, if you're a meat eater, is your filet mignon. All right, nice thick muscle comes down through here. In this society that we're in today, it's constantly in a shortened state. Constantly in a shortened state is not being used. We're doing this thing called sitting. All right, so I think Tom Myers said we went from Homo erectus to Homo domesticus, and so that's causing us to sit a lot. So this muscle, as you can see, this is nice and slacked, not even doing much. This one's falling off. The guy's not using it much at all. So what happens is when it's shortened, we are what we repeat. You're going to hear that theme with me in multiple videos. Whatever we do more of, we become more efficient as. And so if we're a side sleeper, that muscle is shortened, and then we wake up and we sit in breakfast, that muscle is shortened, and then we go sit in our car and that muscle is shortened, and then we have an office job. So we sit down, and then we go to lunch and sit down with our coworkers, and then we go back in the car, and then we get to the gym. Guess what our muscle, well, guess what we've practiced for 8 to 10 hours? How many reps do you think we've put in of having a shortened psoas? It doesn't have to do its work. It's shortened. It can be tight, but it doesn't mean it's strong, and that's the difference. So if we look at Carrie sitting here, and if she's in a good position, her psoas is going to be somewhat elongated. But if she gets tired, now hour 2 at work, and she slouches, now we've shortened that position even more. Or if we've leaned forward because she's a good listener, then that's even shortened some more. So if you're someone that works with people on your computer and you're very intense, we'll shorten it more. When that's shortened, again, it's not necessarily strong. So we need to activate that before we go and do any activity, because if that's not doing its job, all the muscles back here pick up the slack. And when they pick up the slack, they eventually get tired and go into spasm, and that's where we get these random back pains that show up out of the blue. Picture of our psoas, the blue muscle, and you can see how that attaches to every segment of our lower back, the top of our pelvis, and goes all the way into our diaphragm. It's laced with nerves, vascularity, and actually even some lymph area that runs along there, which we'll get into next. If we rotate that around, you can actually see that muscle that sticks out from the front attaches to our back. So in essence, to treat the back, we're going to treat the front, and that's teach you how to get that muscle strong and activated so these muscles don't have to overwork and cause low back issues. If we're going to go work out at a gym, do a boot camp, any type of high intensity interval training, we want to make sure our psoas is engaged and it's going to offer the support of our lower back and our core. So one of the things we can do is an activation of the psoas, and these bands are super inexpensive. You can get them almost everywhere, and there's different intensities. This would be a harder one, this would be a lighter one. There's 2 ways we can do this. One is from the knee to the foot, the other is foot to foot. So we're going to do the knee of the foot. I'm going to have Carrie put this around her knee, and it's going to go on the opposite foot. You're going to aim that foot up, and you're going to make sure that knee doesn't drop down so you don't shoot yourself in the face. It's funny to me, but not to you guys. All right, straighten this leg out, hands by your side. We're going to make sure we're doing several things. We're going to pull this knee up to our chest. All the magic happens for the psoas once you get past the belt. If we get right to here, we're just working our rectus femoris, which is not going to help us a whole lot. That muscle's already be shortened from sitting. So we want to come up and out slightly and come straight up. There we go. And I'm going to take my hand and have her do a few repetitions. If we bring our leg out a little bit more and towards the shoulder, that works a muscle neighboring that psoas called the iliacus, which also could play a role. So that's not a bad idea to switch it up as well. One of the things you also want to check is your neck flexors. A lot of times people will pull their neck in, and that is actually a fascial line to that psoas. So I want to try to keep that neck relaxed and get that hip flexor to do its work. If we want to get a different intention, we can go ahead and drop this down and put them around both feet. And I'll show you why that plays a role. This will be a tougher band, and let's go ahead and straighten this leg out. And head stays back. You can put a towel behind there and then pull that up to your chest and back. Try not to shoot it across the room. All right, and awesome. Well, we do about 2 sets of 10 to 20 reps. It's an activation, not such a strengthening. So that's one way we can work there. Okay, so if we don't want to lay in the ground before our workout, we can actually go ahead and use a wall or your car or a post. And what we can do is before we get on a treadmill or go do a run, we want to make sure our back's supported. So we're going to put that loop around our legs, get a nice wide stance, and we're going to get a nice plank position up and lift up that knee towards your chest and one squeeze. Same thing, about 2 sets of 10. You would alternate knees. And you want to make sure you're also looking straight ahead, not down. If you're looking down, again, it's going to pull that fascial line in and we want to extend it.
Go and do one more. Perfect.
All right, so if we're in a position where we're sitting all day and in a lot of hip flexion position, possibly had a really heavy lower body workout the night before, we want to make sure before we get active again, we want to activate our hip flexors. So before we hit the squat bar, before we start deadlifting, start throwing kettlebells around, we want to make sure, get 5 minutes before, activate that psoas, either lying or standing up, and put the 10 to 20 reps in to protect your back.